Hello, and you're listening to FPcast, the podcast for Fruitless Pursuits, where we bullshit about the week in pop culture. I'm Luke.
And I'm Jacinta.
And this week we're talking about...
Movies, television, collectibles, video games, comics, books, board games, and more.
Good friend of the podcast and tomorrow's guest, Paris, for Book Was Better, brought to my attention this book, Rey Survival Guide, which is really, it's just a little tie-in book. It's aimed pretty young. It's Rey's diary about her time on Jakku. And it's got her notes. It's supposed to be written by her, and it's got sketches, and it fills in some information. Nothing too huge, obviously, but I picked it up because I thought that it was interesting, and something that Paris pointed out. I said at the time that leap of faith is that she, in order for my theory to work, she can't remember her time with Luke. And it begins with pretty much, my name is Rey, I've been here my whole life scratching out a living with the lost and the broken. I don't know how I got here or why. So
There you go.
confirms that all fits in with the theory. She doesn't remember. She has no idea. So let's go to this mother thing, and this is interesting. Obviously, the film takes time to show her putting on that X-Wing helmet and wearing it. And she has that nice quiet scene where she's wearing that helmet. Now, the visual dictionary and this book both confirm that this helmet belonged to a pilot called Dosmet Rey. This Rey is spelled R-A-E-H. R-A-E-H. That's hard to say.
Yeah.
R-A-E-H. So Rey. So that suddenly becomes really interesting because we realise that she's probably gotten her name. It's not her birth name. But it's an assumed name from this helmet. And the helmet has... Is it Orek Besh? Is the Star Wars language, the font? Has that on there, and it has been confirmed that it does spell out R-A-E-H on the helmet. So she would be able to read that, obviously. So she's seen this Captain Rey helmet and has called herself Rey. So there's this theory of, okay, so there's some sort of attachment to there. That's where she's got the name. Now, the other thing that this book does, and I believe is the first thing to do it, this Rey Survival Guide, it says specifically that this is a female pilot.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of interesting. She's from the Tiafon Yellow Aces. And suddenly I'm like, it's hard to picture Luke hooking up with someone. Because I think it's hard to picture this idea of, like, who would it be? What type of woman would it be that Luke would be interested in? And if you focus on his Jedi side, then it almost seems impossible. You start thinking about Obi-Wan and everyone like that, and you think of someone, you know, it's asexual. But he was still, even as a Jedi, he was a fucking great pilot. He was a guy that went adventuring, he was in the X-Wing, he was awesome, he led lots of X-Wing squads and stuff. And then I think, shit, that's how he's met someone. That's something that works for me, is that it was this female pilot. Now, apparently the doll that she made, it also says in this book, she made the doll, and she calls that doll Captain Rey.
Okay.
And she acts out the adventures of this woman. So there's a connection. I think that's definitely been put in there to raise. It can't just be a random person, right? Like, there's something there. It's the namesake and everything like that. So there are theories. Once I started looking this up and this Dosmet Rey person, there are people that have theories. Maybe this is Rey's mother. And that clicked for me because I thought, yes, I can imagine. That's how I can imagine Luke, like, out there flying with people. We've seen new female pilots in The Force Awakens, going on adventures, like shooting shit, flying these things. That's the person you're going to end up fucking one night, is the other pilot.
Yeah. Well, that's basically the canon story of Poe's mother. That she was an X-Wing pilot on Yavin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they like to fuck. They had these crazy parties. Luke rear gunned her. He was her rear gunner.
Yes.
Got into a Dax. Gave her a Porkins. got right up in a wedge. I can't think of any other ones. But, yeah.
Got right up in his snap Wexley.
Now, this, though, is my contribution to this. Because there's something about this word Dosmet. It sounds weird, Dosmet Rey. There's just certain times when you hear words, and I find this happens a lot with usernames and things on the internet. There's times where I just read the sort of syllables and you go, I've read all these nonsensical names, now I'm reading this one, and I go, oh no, it's actually a name backwards or something. You just sense when there's something being played around with. And Star Wars names have a history of puns and anagrams and things like that. When you look at like Reyes is 3 eyes, or Gasgano is gas and go, he's a pod racer. There's those little things in there. Also, J.J. Abrams is through Lost and all those sorts of things, is about puzzles and hiding things in plain sight and letters and numbers and stuff like that. So I thought, let's just do a little anagram thing. Let's have a look. I had no idea. I put it into an anagram search, and then I realized that one of the full words that comes out of this small thing is mother. So mother, right? And that's interesting, but what are the remaining letters? Because mother alone, there's a lot of words that come out of that. D-A-I-S. No Y. But that is, isn't that crazy that it's mother, and then everything left is Daisy, pretty much. It's days.
I feel like that's a slightly long bow to draw at this
Days
point.
Mother.
Yeah. But then if they're really doing that, why wouldn't they just chuck a Y in there somewhere?
Because I reckon that people don't call her Daisy on the set. I reckon they call her Days. Look, John Boyega is a chav.
Yes, and he calls her Peanut.
He would call her all sorts of things. But then I searched for Days and Daisy Ridley together, for instances, and there are people referring to her as Days.
Okay.
Online, spelt that exact same way.
Yeah, look.
I think it's
I'm
interesting.
willing to go along with it, but I'm not sold on that one.
I think it's interesting.